Hey folks, thanks so much for joining this month's Tech Talk to discuss modernizing of AngularJS to Angular. I'm Joe Rafanelli. I'm the director here of Technical Solutions at Macrosoft. Macrosoft, we basically specialize in customizing software development. We specialize in migrating old applications to new. I'm here with my colleague Azeem Rathore. He's an architect, dev lead, or he's an architect lead to discuss this important and reoccurring topic. As usual, what we'll do is I'll have a bunch of questions for Azeem, and then I'll open up to a technical discussion through the chat. So before we get started, I wanted to say this. If the developers out there are still working with AngularJS, this session is definitely for you guys. We're going to explore the powerful new features of a modern Angular and discuss what's missing in AngularJS, which will be very important for you guys, and really show why now is the best time to migrate. Like I had said, I have Azeem here with me. He's done many of these migration projects, and we're going to have him as our subject matter expert. And I want him to say hello to everybody before we get started. So go ahead, Azeem, introduce yourself. Go ahead.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Joe. My name is Azeem Rathore, and I'm very excited to be here. And thanks for having me, Joe, here. And I'm very excited to talk about how Angular has evolved. And importantly, I would like to tell you guys about how importantly we can successfully migrate this AngularJS application to Angular. So again, thank you for having me for this discussion.
Absolutely. We're interested in hearing about your expertise. So let's get started and how Angular has evolved. Many developers still associate Angular with AngularJS. Can you give us a quick history of Angular?
Yeah, absolutely. AngularJS is developed by Google, and it was very powerful framework developed. They launched in 2010, and it was revolutionized that time because it provided you a lot of features that a normal JavaScript or other JavaScript frameworks couldn't do that. So they focus on this thing by developing this framework, and many companies actually adopt this and develop their application. So it introduced a lot of different features like dependency injection, data bindings, and modular structure, how you streamline your projects. But for this, as the application grow, they become more complex. Then companies feel different issues like performance issues, scalability issues, security issues. So it became very clear that time that they need to upgrade something. So for these things to cover these challenges, Angular is introduced in 2016 by Google. So they introduced it, and it was completely rewritten to cover up all the challenges which they have companies faced in AngularJS, and it provides you TypeScript support and with better architecture, component-based approach, and more command line tools which can help to evolve your project gradually and bring you the more optimized and performance friendly applications and better developer experience.
It's definitely a huge shift, everything you just said. Lots of changes from AngularJS to Angular. So for those who haven't made the switch, let's talk about what they're missing out on. What are the most exciting features of a modern Angular that developers should be taking advantage of today?
I believe this is a great question, an important question nowadays because a lot of developers have very difficulties in adopting these changes. And let's discuss some of the features will be helpful for the developers to start this. So first Angular key features is they have a standalone components instead of uh, dependent components. So they have most of the components which is standalone. You can use those. No need to use ng modules and other project structure-based components in your Angular projects. Angular simplify this architecture. Then there are state management features have been introduced to handle the project states and your data management and for better performance. And then there are a lot of other search engine optimizations tools they have introduced for better performance, faster page load so that application rendered fastly. They have different error handling techniques. They have introduced new methods, asynchronous programming handling features they have introduced, and also they have introduced many built-in command line tools for faster builds and debugging, and also provide some other tools for better user visibility and writing for maintainability of the code. That reduces actually a runtime errors and improve code's maintainability so that everyone have a smooth line and maintainable code.
That sounds like some major improvements. So let's dive into that. So I bet some of the developers are wondering how does it compare to what they have today. So let's talk a little bit about the gaps between Angular JS and Angular, and some more reasons to modernize.
Absolutely. There are a lot of improvements in the Angular as compared to the Angular JS. So most of the major gaps which Angular has covered, which was not in Angular JS, is first is the architecture. AngularJS were a model view controller based architecture. So you have model and view separately layered, and then they have a two-way binding lead to the potential performance issue because they are binding together very tightly, and for when the application is very large, it causes the problems in and performance issues. So Angular covered those by introducing component-based architecture, offering better modularity and scalability, and they have introduced like one-way binding. So they have it depends on the application and business logic how you want to bind the application, either one way or two-way binding. So they have provided you the optional two-way binding features, and also that improves performance. So for the performance perspective, AngularJS has different digest cycles and watches, which actually slow down because they keeps your data and information or some states. So that's become when application grows, it slow down the performance things. Also, it loads the servers as well, and there is no built-in source. So to cover these things, Angular has better change detection management, and it do a change detection on runtime so that it doesn't keep your watches and states together. So it just keeps it on runtime and then obsolete it, and also it reduce the load time for, and that's actually when a page is uh, runs faster and render faster. Then there is a mobile support. In AngularJS, very limited mobile support is available, so application does not work better in the mobile. Whereas Angular has covered this, you have a built-in mobile application support in mind, and features they have introduced many features that supports mobile applications development, like lazy loading and optimized rendering, enhanced featuring. These actually user these are the facility for user experience so that user will feel a better and fast rendering in the mobile application. Then they have a languages and tools. So Angular provide a lot of different built-in tools like command line interfaces, other tools and support to simplify the development. I would say they have a many tools that run codes for you honestly. And TypeScript, they have introduced TypeScript in Angular, which provide static typing and better code refactoring. Whereas in AngularJS, it was ECMAScript, and they does not have a modern tools and available for this development. And the major thing is dependency injection, because every application is very tightly bound to each other, which makes the application very slow, and it is very hard to handle those dependency. But Angular has introduced a dependency engine to handle these things, so it handle automatically an easier way to manage your dependency for providers and for other, and also provide you the scope based dependency injection way, so you can handle your dependency easily. Continuity and support, that's a major thing actually. AngularJS is end of life now. They does not have any support available anymore. So it's mean no security patches, nothing upgrades will come up for AngularJS. Whereas Angular has an active community of many companies and many user, and also it has updates from Google. That's a major thing, and it's continuously growing. And strong future proofing and backward compatibilities are also available in the newer version. That's mean if you are in older version of Angular, you want to upgrade it, you can do it with seconds and no hard work required for that. So these are, I think, believe a good features they have introduced in Angular.
Yeah, just with that one slide, you can tell, the drawbacks, excuse me, of Angular JS, right? So a lot of folks about got to be saying, well, I got to get off of Angular JS. I want to get all those benefits from Angular. So folks out there, you're really missing out if you're not moving away from Angular JS, especially on efficiency, security, and performance. So that you definitely made that resonate, with that slide.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's clear that the migration is necessary, right? That's why we're on this call. But many companies still hesitate, because they worry about complexity, right? So, what's your advice for making the migration go smoother?
That's a common and also a big concern, no doubt,
Hmm.
because I believe most of the companies found it quite hectic and painful process. That's why they does not go for these change easily. For me, about migration does not have to be painful actually. So it's have a complete roadmap where you can actually start off your project for migration that can provide you a smooth uh, platform how you can do that. So basically, first identify start small. So that's mean you have to identify the components that can be easily independent and modularized and rewritten easily instead of like start developing it. So this is first steps. You have to identify those things. Then Angular also provides you tools where it can convert your Angular JS code to Angular build easily without having anything to do. So try that thing, try that tools first as well, because most of the development tasks Angular already converted for you when you start do that. So when you do this, use these kind of upgrade modules, it will actually help you to write migrate better, optimized code during migration. Then you need to identify your services actually. There are a lot of different services, like in some are independent services, business logic services which are independent. First try to convert these services first before using, I mean, other word, so that it will help you to use I mean streamline your project first. Then there are other tools like command line tools, as I meant. Uh, Angular CLI provided you better tool proofing so that you can use the different commands, and uh, that will help you to ease your transition to migration from AngularJS to Angular. And then there is refactoring phase basically. So instead of writing a full rewrite, try to reuse your existing code that can reduce risk as well, and try to optimize those code. And by following these steps, I believe that the downtime reduce risk, it will reduce your risk of migration, also reduce the downtime, and gradually increase your project to a powerful framework, and then it will be smooth forever. And then these are actually the major efforts we required for that. So one is update dependency. So there are a lot of dependent modules used in the application. So evaluate those modules, and there are built some libraries, external libraries you use. Review all those third-party libraries and check for the compatibility. Most of the feature already Angular provide you for backward compatibility, and you can easily migrate those things. Then there is a migration services. You need to update your services. You need to refactor your services according to the Angular platform, Angular code structure, and Angular, and it's also should be backward compatible as well for better performance. And then application architecture, that's a major important thing. So Angular is totally redesigned. Angular use a component based approach, whereas AngularJS use modular approach. So you need to convert all your modular to components. And Angular uses TypeScript, so you use Angular best practices and TypeScript to migrate your project easily. And then there are modules which is already available in Angular that will provide you a complete system for better organization and scalability of your code. and project architecture. This is how you can smooth line. Then the most important thing is navigation and routing. Angular JS was having a manual routing router to, but Angular cover this portion to provide you a routing engine that can help you to improve navigation and also support dependency injection and lazy loadings feature, which will help to optimize and run faster your application. And state management also introduced in Angular, which is a built-in feature like NGRX library that is used for complex application to handle states like stock exchange markets, and these kind of application libraries are very important in these kind of domains, financial applications, stock exchange. Angular provide you a very good organized engine for this state management. And then templates and bindings. So convert all your JS application templates into reactive Angular reactive forms and that contain directives, that contain pipes. Angular already provide you all the replacement for those pipes and directives which is used in Angular JS. So you can use those things and convert that and adjust your data binding syntax as well to fit on Angular. So depends on your business logic. You can have a uh, choice, either you want a one-way binding or two-way binding. So this is how these are the major effort you need to migrate those.
Absolutely. Addressing the complexity piece was very important to companies. So putting it out there and steps like that makes it definitely a little easier to understand and see what migration process is all about. I know you go through this all the time because you do several of these, per year. So I'm glad you put that all down. So hopefully folks got something out of that. So what'll happen is once they migrate, they'll get to Angular. You take advantage of the speed, the security, and maintainability, which are the key things I wanted to say. Um, I didn't have any other questions, but I do want to say one other thing. Why don't you give folks like a final wrap up on your thoughts about AngularJS, and then we'll open it up to the audience.
Yeah, message is simple actually. If you are still using AngularJS, I think it's time to migrate because you will not only miss the all the evolutionized technology, because as you know technology is evolving and you will miss all these security feature, all the things, patches which is helpful for your application. So it's, if you are still on AngularJS, you are just not missing feature, you are also putting your business, your application, your project at risk. So I believe with the right approach and effort, you guys application migration does not you can migrate your application and it will not be overwhelming. So the longer you wait, I think the harder it will for you and harder it will become for your application.
Definitely well said. Thank you for that. So folks, anybody out there looking to do this sort of migration, definitely give us a call. Um, so we've done a lot of work with AngularJS and Angular. One thing I wanted to mention that we do have a tool to size up the actual project. This tool was recently perfected, and we actually have a demo on how it might work for folks. But it's absolutely downloadable on our website. You can use it for free. But we just wanted to show folks how it works, and we're going to go ahead and do that now.
Your first step toward modernizing your AngularJS application. It helps answer the two most common questions every client asks before starting a modernization journey: how much and how long? CodeMatrix is available for download on our website. It is simple to use. Just run it on your project and share the reports with us. Our expert team will review them and provide answers to your questions. Let's walk through the process for an AngularJS project. 1. Select AngularJS as the project type. 2. Locate your project folder. Make sure it contains your code files. 3. Enter a report title. This will appear in your generated reports. 4. Click Start Analysis and relax. The analysis time depends on your project size. Once the analysis is complete, you'll be prompted to generate the reports. Now, let's take a look at what CodeMatrix delivers. You'll get 4 reports in CSV format, ready to open in Excel. File Summary Report, a breakdown of all file types used, including code line counts, pure code, comments, and blank lines. Detail Report, a deep dive into every file, its language, code metrics, and structure. You'll also get insights like the number of controllers, services, modules, directives, routes, filters, and business logic code. It even categorizes UI controls based on complexity. Controls Report lists all UI controls used in the project. Package Report shows all package dependencies with version numbers and provides unit test summaries, if present. With CodeMatrix, you gain a clear picture of your project, making modernization planning smarter and faster.
Okay, perfect. So that's basically the first step, is getting CodeMatrix results, and we can definitely size up the project, and between the cost and any kind of duration, we'd let you guys know. But that would be a first step. But let's go to some chat questions. Let's see what we got out there, see how we did. Okay, our application is large and complex. How do we handle migration without disrupting our users?
That's a good question, because large-scale applications and migration require a phased approach. Actually, instead of completing a rewrite, it's better to use a phased approach. So you select your phase where you select your components to migrate those first. So that you can use the built-in tool ng upgrade tools libraries, which will help you to migrate your code built easily from AngularJS to Angular. And this is how you can run two separate AngularJS and Angular together in one platform, and gradually you can upgrade in with that other modules, by incrementing approach using. So find out your independent services, shared utilities, and move features at one by one, instead of uh, together everything. So this is how, considering these feature flag, you can switch between old and new version to check your application, and also use your user without affecting your user. You can use two application together for comparison as well. And proper testing with automation also required, because this is an important part for smooth transition. So once you have completed your module from AngularJS to Angular, it's always recommendation to test it using some automation tools, for so that you will be make sure that everything is smoothly transition.
Yeah, that's some good advice. Thank you for that. Okay, question number 2. Okay, what are the most common pitfalls teams face during a migration, and how can we avoid them?
For this, one of the biggest mistakes, I would say, that uh, is trying to rewrite everything at once,
Hmm.
and it is very risky and overwhelming and painful sometimes as well. And instead of taking like modular approach, you have to design a phased approach. And another common pitfall, which is not refactoring your outdated or obsolete code. Sometimes you need to optimize your code for better performance thing. So most of the important part, this is one of the important thing, that clean up your redundant code which is not required, and also try to optimize your outdated code before migrating. And this is how you will be with the smoother transition phase, and it will be easier for you to move to other steps. And also some teams, we have seen that does not do some kind of testing like performance testing, load testing after the migration to ensure application is optimized on. And this is the most important thing to do that, because this is how you can find out either your application is completely uh, optimized or not, and also it will have a lazy loading feature implemented or not. And this is how you can do that. And finally, don't forget about training. This is the most important step in modern words and modern application, to train your employees, because it use Angular uses TypeScript, and most of the people does not have a proper training for that, and which makes your transition for and migration very hectic. And quite Angular and TypeScript is quite different from JavaScript, because it is most commonly used by Microsoft, and they have developed it using a C sharp type structure, using uh, OOP concept and these kind of things. So this is important to train your staff before using these technologies.
Yeah, good suggestion. I'm glad you brought up TypeScript. Okay. Another question. Our team is new to TypeScript. Do we really need to use it, or can we stick with JavaScript in Angular?
Angular is quite flexible. You can write applications in JavaScript as well instead of using TypeScript. But this is not advisable or recommended, and also discouraged from even Google as well, because TypeScript provides you many features for code styling, code organization, better tools, and IDE provide for you better community and vast community for that. And also it helps you to improve maintainability. It and it has also introduced other features like error handling, which can and uh, also the logging system, built-in logging systems, and also which can reduce downtime and runtime, and also provide you a very powerful tools for debugging, so that you in during runtime. So, and when you are designing your system and writing the code in TypeScript, uh, it will tell you the what are the codes mistake you have done. Whereas in AngularJS or in JavaScript, you don't have these kind of features. There are a better IDE for TypeScript that is helpful. And if your team is new to TypeScript, then I would say that start with small changes, so that they will have a grip on the language, and gradually introduce different types and interfaces in the TypeScript for your project when it grows easily. So this is how you can actually uh, go with a smoother transaction, and also use TypeScript in strict mode for guidance, because it will provide you all the guidance and tutorials for those when you are using TypeScript in strict mode. And in the long run, it will definitely save time and effort and for migrating your projects.
Definitely sounds like you're speaking from experience there. So thanks for your insight there. Let's see if there's anything else out there before we close. All right. So excellent questions, by the way. So thank you, everybody. So we'll close out the meeting. Azeem, thanks so much for your expertise. We definitely tell you you're in the weeds there. You put a lot of thought into this tech talk, so we definitely appreciate that. I want to also thank the audience. Some great questions came out there. Hopefully, folks got something out of that. If anybody out there is actually looking to, if you have any questions, let me know that you didn't ask. But if you have something that you need a quote on, migration, AngularJS to Angular migration that you'd like to get a quote on, you can see my contact information there. Don't hesitate, reach out, and we'll get it going. We'll get the code matrix from you. We'll get you some information as far as the cost and duration, and maybe we can, move forward together. But at this point, I want to thank everybody, and goodbye until next time. Take care.